Len Robbins, and welcome to the show.
The Tommy DeVito story is fun, and it's so Jersey. But I'm just waiting for like the other shoe to drop because we've seen that happen so many times. Are you enraptured in the Tommy DeVito story?
Look, I'm enraptured by the story. I mean, really, this is sort of like the New Jersey version of Rudy, right?
Yes,
you know, the kid
yes.
wasn't even like a great college quarterback, but right place, right time. I mean, everything that can go wrong did go wrong for the Giants, and he's seizing the moment. And the more I hear about this kid is they really like him in that locker room. But what clinched it for me was, did you see the attire that his agent was wearing the other day?
How great was that outfit?
Yes.
Looked like he went to the Sopranos set and took something off Stevie Van Zandt, didn't it?
Yes.
Right. Now, there is no way that guy has to go through a metal detector. No way.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very hearty ho, ho, ho as we make our return after a Christmas hiatus here and getting set. This is the proverbial NFL short week, Mike Lubie Lubitz, as we join you on this fine Wednesday. We will go old school with Tony Segreto a bit later on, and maybe that's appropriate, especially after what turned out to be somewhat of a signature win for the Miami Dolphins. And no, I ended up not going to the game.
Oh, you didn't go. You had an interesting.
This was one of those things. I don't know if you know my buddy Sean McNamara. I guess you've met Sean Mac.
I know Sean. He's something.
Let's just say that he's going in a lot of different directions all at once. And for him, very favorable directions. And usually he brings along everybody that he can. He's kind of the Pied Piper of good fortune, this guy. But he had mentioned to the Mustang, I don't know what mental condition he was in when he mentioned to the Mustang that, hey, I have an extra ticket. Why doesn't, if Defo wants to go to the Dallas game, this was a couple of weeks ago, I'm going on Christmas Day. And so it wasn't Christmas Day. It was the day before, Christmas Eve night or whatever.
Christmas Eve evening.
Yeah, so 425. Great ball game. Maybe one of the more monumental ball games that we've seen. Certainly, I would think this going into that game, Lubie, was it not fair to say that was one of the biggest ball games the Dolphins have been involved in potentially in the last 20 years? Can you think of anything that matched up? You have the Dolphins fighting for the chance to be maybe the number one seed, and they now go head-to-head with an opportunity to get that distinction. With a game against the Ravens coming up this week, but had to get by Dallas. 3 big games on the schedule. We've been looking for them all year long. The weird thing was that the Miami Dolphins were 10-1 in games against teams that were sub 500. And the stat that stands out there is, how is it that they played 11 of their 14 games against losing teams? You would think there would be some balance there, wouldn't you? That, okay, so we, played 7 winning teams, 7 losing teams, but out of 14 games, 11 of them were against teams that now are at the time, I guess this wasn't at the time they played, but through that length of the season, through 14 games of the season, 11 of those teams of the 14 had losing records.
Well, it's why when they do the looking at the schedule thing and say, wow, this team has a tough schedule, that's not always correct. Remember, the AFC East was supposed to be really good. The Jets were supposed to be a super contender. Remember, the AFC West, this was finally going to be the year that Brandon Staley figured out how to not ruin his quarterback's career. Like, the AFC West was supposed to rebound, like that. And yes, the Raiders and Broncos are actually playing better football. Honestly, the Chiefs and the Chargers suck right now.
Chiefs, that's another mystery.
And that's the thing. And then the NFC West was supposed to the Giants. Remember, the Giants were a playoff team last year. Everyone had all these hopes. The Commanders, Ron Rivera. So that's the thing is they weren't supposed to have an easy schedule. It just turned out to be such.
Imagine the Giants before the season. They had to make the tough decision about whether or not to invest in Daniel Jones. And then think about it. And we'll get into this because I think the Tommy DeVito story took an unbelievable turn this week as he was benched. I was shocked. I didn't realize he was playing that badly. There are 2 schools of thought on the backup quarterback. And you're thinking, okay, we don't have a guy that's got some kind of cannon for an arm or whatever. So we're going to kind of dumb it down a little bit so that the backup is not inclined to make the hideous, egregious, outrageous, game-changing mistake. But I mean, there are two schools of thought on that. I think you got to let the guy go. They had in Minnesota the backup quarterback, some guy named Mullen. Is it Mullen or Mullins?
Mullins. He played with the Niners.
Yeah,
when he had other injury issues. He played a few times.
All right, all I can think of is Jeff Mullins, the old basketball player. But anyway, good-looking kid and has a good arm. And you have to decide: are you going to let the guy wing it down the field a little bit? Or are you going to play? It's a massively conservative game where a guy has an upside completion percentage above 50%, and yet at the same time he's thrown for 55 yards and been completely ineffective. And all of those little line of scrimmage passes eventually get snuffed out by the defense. And unless you're going to take a couple of shots down the field at some point,
yep,
you're going to get buried in an avalanche of negative plays. Yep. And maybe even eventually have one batted in the air and taken back for a score. I mean, witness what was happening in that game with the 49ers. I don't know that they were playing conservatively, but Minnesota had Mullins in their game just chucking it down the field. He throws 4 picks. But would you rather have a guy throw a massive number of interceptions while trying to win the game or just throw up the white flag and say, we're not going to have any offense in this game, so unless we score a couple of defensive touchdowns or get something on special teams, we're going to lose. And they took the veto out at halftime. I was kind of stunned by that because, and this is it was going to be the essence of my broadcasting day today, the Tommy DeVito story, which it's still, I mean, it has so many interesting elements to it and the layers to it that, it's definitely worth exploring. But 2 big marquee games on the schedule. I guess there were more than that, but the Dolphins-Dallas game and, of course, the 49ers and the Ravens game were the 2 games that really were flashing on the board, Lubie, as you looked at this week's NFL action. And I thought it was great. I ended up not going because Sean Mack, in his sort of spacey nature and approach to life, never again mentioned going to the Dallas game, even though I saw him the night before.
Oh, no. Well, you didn't even bring it up. You just left it alone.
I didn't bring it up because that's not me. You know that. I'm thinking if he really, intended for me to go, he would have said, hey, don't forget about tomorrow, Defo. I'm picking you up at like 11 o'clock.
You forgot totally.
No mention was made. And due to the fact that I was experiencing some physical impairments over the weekend, which landed me, believe it or not, Lubie, I was telling you this before. It sounds more, imposing than it was.
Yeah.
But I ended up actually in the Holy Cross emergency room on Christmas Day. That was Monday, which probably was a good day to go because there was nobody there. All the people that would have had emergencies, nobody, plugged their finger into a socket while trying to, undo Christmas lights. Nothing happened like that.
I guess not. I guess because what is it? Halloween. One of the holidays is like the busiest time of the year.
Yeah.
I guess it's not Christmas because Christmas just seems dead. Like people are on their best behavior.
Dead, man. Yeah, it was empty. It's funny too because there's a guy kind of taking me back to the room, and I said, "Boy, it's kind of quiet in here." He says, "Never use that word." And I thought about it. Said, yeah, in the emergency room, yeah, of course. Be some 9-car pileup on Atlantic Boulevard. Right after I said that, and all of a sudden you've got emergency vehicles streaming in there to get care. It's probably the only way to get to see a doctor in any reasonably
timely fashion.
Timely fashion, yeah. And the guy, I mean, did a great job. A nice thorough exam. Although what I have is always undiagnosable. Same thing happened with my hand a couple of months ago, whenever that thing was going on, but. So I ended up in there, and it was kind of an interesting experience because you're thinking, wow, of all the things, what would be worse, like being in Vietnam on Christmas Day, the 70s? Who wants to be in an emergency room? It's kind of crazy stuff. So relatively immobile over the weekend. How was your Christmas, by the way, Louis? Before we get going on all of this football stuff,
a lot better than yours.
I had to blow off the family visit. Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
You didn't get to do. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
it was good. I mean, we went to her parents like we always do the night. Or Noche Buena is the Latin term for it. Christmas Eve, they do the whole dinner.
Oh yeah, nice.
And then the morning of, we go back to her parents and we open up gifts and they do breakfast. And it's very funny. It's like when you're a little kid, like everyone, they do We don't have kids on that side of the family yet either. That's the funny thing. And there's like tons of gifts, and everyone opens up a gift at a time. Everyone oohs and ahs, even though everyone had a specific list on Amazon, and they can monitor what's being bought on the list. So they know exactly what they're getting, but they're really good at playing surprise. I'll give them credit. I'm like, didn't you know? Okay. So
people already know. I mean, it's pre-designated.
Yes, they literally tell you what they want.
Wow.
That's what you're supposed to, like. My sister-in-law went off the board to buy my mother-in-law something, and we all were like, what? You can do that? I'm like, I didn't know you were allowed.
You broke the rules. What are you, Bill Belichick? What the hell is that, man?
I really forgot she asked for something, and they bought her it, and she was genuinely surprised and excited. I'm like, oh my God, it's like when you don't know what you're getting, and then you open it up, and you get to enjoy that moment of not knowing what you're getting. That's a weird concept. It's almost like gift giving. So anyways, that's what we do, and they love it, and it's fine. I just think it's ridiculous a little to not go. To me, the point is making someone bust their ass for you. Like, that's the whole point of a gift. It's not the actual gift, because I can go anywhere and buy myself some shit. I don't need you buying me shit. I'm a grown-ass adult. It's knowing that you, who are really busy, took time that you don't have for me. Selfish, whatever you want to call that. I think that's literally the spirit of it, is to know that someone went out of their fucking way for you. Is really
thoughtfulness. Yes.
So anyways,
no one better at that, by the way, than the lovely and talented Leslie Visser, who always comes up with a thoughtful gift, no matter, I mean, and price isn't the consideration. It's just that, wow, how did you think to get me that?
Exactly. Yes. So anyways, it makes life easier. I get it. And that's fine. So we do that. And then we actually had everyone over to our house this year. From my side,
it's too mechanical though, doing it that way. It takes the emotion out of the whole thing.
It makes it easier, but I think it's weird. But whatever. Look, to each their own. They all are really busy, so that's fine. And this world now is everything quick and easy. And then we went back to our house and have both. It's more, we had what you have, where we had her side and my side come to celebrate, because the kids don't get to do Christmas, right? We're Jewish, so we get to have Christmas that way. And actually went super well. My dog was a pain in the ass.
Oh, good.
But that went really well. So our Christmas was really good. I'm sorry that yours was sort of shitty.
Well, I mean, it's I'm pretty lucky with this sort of thing in general. I mean, people always ask me about it, because I was having arthritic knee problems a couple of years ago. And after I took that trip to Italy, I mean, it was excruciating when I was walking around these cobblestone streets in Italy on a bum knee, and you're thinking, man, I got to do something about this. And it takes an enormous push for me to go to a doctor, because even this past Monday, it's like the last thing I wanted to do was go see somebody. But I finally thought, well, geez, if I don't do something about this soon. And you can't get an appointment with anybody, no matter how big of an emergency it is. Even your own doctors, since this one guy that I used to deal with retired, the earliest appointments were in March.
Oh, jeez. Are you kidding me?
Supposed to walk around like Verbal Kent until March. So, I mean, and I normally wouldn't, go ahead and, I'm one of those guys. I'm thinking, well, geez, is this really an emergency? I don't want to take a spot. Some guy, just like I said, got hit by a train, and you're in there. Oh, my knee, it just, you would feel like it was ethically wrong. I mean, to be in that spot. It was kind of like that whole scandal with the, people buying their entry for their kids, the celebrities into various colleges. And you're saying, well, what's the big deal? They probably would have been able to buy their way in there anyway. Just donate some money to the school, and they would have accepted the kid. Yep. But the poor guy that really worked for it, he gets deprived. The same thing like the steroid issue. Yes. That was always the byproduct. Was well, geez, some guy that was in the minors for 10 years that was on the cusp of maybe making it to the big leagues. He loses a spot to somebody who probably would have been in the minors, except for the fact that he's juicing, and all of a sudden he's hitting the ball like he's Jose Canseco. So, I mean, there's a fairness element there that seldom comes into consideration when people are involved in life. But no, I'm glad you had a good Christmas. I had to blow most of my stuff off, and I would have been able to make it to that Dallas game anyway, because it would have been tough to walk around the stadium and encounter all the different things. But by far, I'm trying to recount. What was there a bigger ball game for the Dolphins? They hadn't been to the postseason or won a postseason game in like 20 years. Of course, they went last year and lost.
Well, the thing is, look, remember they had that Jets game that one year where if they won, they were in the playoffs, and then Geno Smith had the best game until.
Oh yeah.
But again, they haven't had a game where they actually had a chance to like be really good since the early 90s when the Buffalo Bills would just fuck them every year. And the San Diego Charger year. I mean, and that was already in the playoffs. But like when they hosted the Chargers and had a chance to be in the Super Bowl as the host and got throttled by Stan Humphries.
Yes. I was at that game.
Yeah.
I was out in San Diego. Yeah. And they had it in full control also. So, but a long time, a regular season game that had this much luster attached to it, this much attention being garnered in that direction. It was going to be the feature game on national television. It involved the Cowboys. Yep. Cowboys were playing good football, even though they were coming off of a loss. Cowboys had not lost 2 in a row in a long period of time, so they've been very good at bouncing back. They had a horrible game the week before in Buffalo. You thought they would play better. And they're in a position to win the game late in the ball game with a couple of minutes to go. And this, this was one of those defining moments for the Miami Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel.
Yes.
As everybody had questioned whether or not they had the goods to come through in these spots. Yep. We've seen them drive the ball many times. In fact, when they lost to Tennessee, they were driving the ball for a potential game-winning field goal and ended up coming up short with a series of bozoic plays. And you're thinking, well, if they do this again, then you would have to come to the conclusion they really don't have it. And and Tua has been having an excellent year. It's funny how this whole thing has flipped a zillion times now as to who the MVP of the league might be. Did you see this thing that our buddy Sheldon G had posted on Facebook about somebody had bet, I think, $2,000, 2 dimes before the season on Brock Purdy.
Oh, Jesus.
And what would it be? It would be 100 to 1 at 100 to 1 to win the MVP.
Oh my God.
So the guy was alive. No, that guy came out okay. You can sell tickets that are still alive on these kind of propositions where, some giant payoff is possibly coming at the end. So the payoff is going to be, I don't know, like 220,000, something like that. If Brock Purdy won the MVP for this guy with his original 2-dime bet. So he offered it up. There's a site that you can offer up these kind of tickets on where you have a futures bet. And, you can offer it up for, whatever, for bids. So somebody bought that ticket on Brock Purdy prior to this week's game
and he was
for $120,000.
Oh, no.
He put up 120 to win a potential 80, thinking that Brock Purdy was cruising into a position to be the MVP of the league. And then he has a game like that, which you would have to think that eliminates him, does it not? I mean, big moment in front of a huge national audience against the Ravens in a ball game that you thought that this was going to be, a defining moment for the San Francisco 49ers, that 3-game losing streak. You're going to wash it right out of your mind, and you're going to say, hey, this is the best team in football. Some people refuse to let go of that idea. I was watching some analysis yesterday. And the commentator was like, "Oh, well, I still think they're going to win the Super Bowl."
No. I mean, they may, but
they might. Yeah,
you can't after that game. He was horrendous. I mean,
that was awful. He threw 4 picks, replaced by Sam Darnold in the ball game, and Darnold throws a pick at the end of the ball game that I don't know. It was one of those stat patters that you end up with the 5th pick, but because he threw it on the goal line and a guy intercepted in the end zone. But nonetheless, I mean, and it was 4 hideous picks in that game. Balls bouncing off of guys' helmets, really bad passes.
They were drops, but they weren't great passes. Like he threw it right where the defensive line was, like twice.
Yes.
He didn't
Imagine you're the guy that just spent $120
for
a ticket that cost the original owner $2,000. And how happy was that guy that he cashed out?
I was like, good for him. That's the best hedging ever. Ever.
You make $118,000 on a bet that you were never going to come close to winning because even on his own team, Brock Purdy probably loses a lot of steam because of McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's why that parity bet's weird. That guy would pay that off. Like Purdy wasn't really being mentioned. It was like him and McCaffrey, and McCaffrey's having some fucking insane year. Like McCaffrey would have got
ridiculous
before him. I mean. Well, yeah,
imagine who's got that kind of bread though, Lubie, to venture venture 120,000 to only win 80. I mean, the most he could cash out for was the 200.
He'd still lose.
But a lot of stuff, a lot of defining moments, and this was a defining moment for Tua, I think. Let's bring in Tony because Tony, no doubt, will help us celebrate this whole holiday good cheer. There he is, Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen, coming to us. Looks like Vermont.
Yes.
The paneling is a dead giveaway that you're not in your Davy Diggs. Although, are you coming down here for the big OB, Tony?
I don't know. I don't know yet.
You're on the committee.
So you're opting out too? Not only all of Georgia and Florida State's opting out. Now you're opting out?
You're opting out?
Wow. Even Segreto's opting out. Jesus.
Wow. What's happening, Tony? How are you, my friend?
I'm just fine. How are you?
Doing well. This is our first show back after a couple of day hiatus here. So we're shaking off a little ring rust.
Yeah.
But always good to have you on the program. Do a little old school with Tony Segreto, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. I was trying to think of this. It's always easy to say, well, this was the biggest game in Dolphins history or whatever. You've seen them all, Tony, going back into when Joe Howard took that opening kickoff back. I was trying to think of a bigger spot that the Dolphins have been in than prior to taking on the Dallas Cowboys in the regular season this year, still with a chance to be the number one seed in the AFC, with an impending showdown coming up against the Baltimore Ravens, who still had to go out and beat the 49ers, which they did handily. So now sets up another huge ball game, albeit on the road. We've been talking about, and this is right in your wheelhouse, so, predicting things when the schedule comes out. And everybody said the same thing, that these last three games were going to be the defining moments for the Miami Dolphins this year. And I thought they acquitted themselves very well in this ball game against Dallas. But can you think of a game, a spot that was bigger in like the last 20 years that the Dolphins faced in the regular season?
Yeah, I can think of, let's see.
Well, where the whole town's going crazy and thinking, okay, I can't wait to see this matchup between the Cowboys and the Dolphins this week.
I can't think of one, but I know there's one or two or three.
All right.
But I wouldn't rank this as the biggest game in history.
Not in history, no, but I mean,
but no, I would,
in terms of anticipation, I'm
recent
talking
history.
Yeah, where the people were just like, oh man, this is it, Dallas versus Miami.
I think in recent history, yes.
Okay.
But in
their lore, they went undefeated. There's a bigger game.
Yeah.
No, but, even in that undefeated year, Lubie, even in the undefeated year, there was a sense that they were just going to do it. There was no, the fans bought in like the team bought in.
Okay.
And there was a matter of fact. Okay, now we got the Super Bowl. It was a different story.
Yeah.
Because Shula had lost so many.
Yeah.
So that was a little.
I just felt him bristling in the grave that you brought that up, Tony. I felt a wave of Shula emotion going through like I'm Joe Cocker all of a sudden here on the show. It's like, you brought that up? That he lost a bunch? That one with the Colts, man. I will never forget that. That was a thing of beauty, my friend, being a Jet fan at the time.
It's the truth.
It's
the truth. But I don't see, here. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I don't see us going further than the third round of the playoffs.
Third round would be
that
would be the Super Bowl, I think. Third round. If they're going to buy.
But right now they're probably not going to get him. Going to Baltimore right now is a little scary.
Yeah, but Baltimore.
That'll be interesting, won't it?
I'm not writing them off. I feel like Tony's writing. I'm not. Look, that game. It's funny. Everyone makes it an important game until the Dolphins win it, and then it's like, oh well, the Cowboys lost. It's like, see, don't do that. Don't make it an important game for the Dolphins. And then not only they win it, but in a fashion they haven't been able to do. Tua going and win. Tua is not Marino. Tua is not known for last minute drives. It's actually the opposite. He's a guy that when he's going to pass, you can blitz him, and he struggles because he's not mobile in this day and age, and his line sucks. The fact that they had that drive where they were able to take the breath out of the Cowboys and stamp in their throat and run the clock out. They haven't done that. We haven't seen the Dolphins do that since Shula and Marino. Like literally, like that's what Philbin couldn't do. That's what Mike McDaniel hasn't done yet. So I'm not going to take that away from them that they did it. Now, being on the road with Baltimore coming off that win sucks.
But, you can't discount them completely because Baltimore has shown a big vulnerability too. I mean, Baltimore has blown any number of fourth quarter leads and managed to hang on in most of the games to win. But they've been suspect. They just happen to benefit from what you had to think. I mean, it was a great defensive effort by Baltimore against San Francisco and a really poor game by the 49ers, uncharacteristically so, throwing all of those picks.
But now you sound like a Dallas fan. No,
no, not at all. I mean, you know what? What I thought was great in that, I mean, Lubie pointed it out. This last drive by the Dolphins, what was as well called and executed as we've seen in that spot.
Yes.
Yeah. And against a team that had a lot of, incentives to play, and make sure that this didn't happen. That was also very good at rebounding from losses. So, yeah, I was very impressed by it. I don't want to blow it off. You're saying they're buried against the Ravens? What happened to you, Tony?
They beat him down.
Did you get stiffed on all of your Christmas presents?
20 years of
yeah. I mean, I would never be a Dallas fan, by the way. I mean, I root for them to lose every ball game.
All I'm saying is
that you're defending the Niners.
In that, yeah, you've got to go. If it's a big game for the Dolphins, it's a big game for Dallas. It's a big game for the 49ers. It's a big game for
the Ravens. Yeah, no, the Ravens dismantled them. Like, I can't take that away from them. Like, that was
it was very impressive.
The Ravens were so good. They were so
really
good.
Lamar Jackson. People like me who have talked shit about Lamar Jackson. He played the best defense in football, and he looked fucking amazing. Yeah. I can't.
He ducks out of a lot of spots. I mean, he would have gotten out of that early safety if the ref didn't trip him up in the end zone.
Yeah.
That was kind of funky. You thought things were definitely going in a negative direction from that play on, but they managed to hang in there in the early going. Well, it's going to be interesting. I just thought in terms of overall buzz, Tony Segreto, and
there's a lot of.
I hadn't seen anything quite like it here in town. That much excitement about one ball game, and because it involved the Dallas Cowboys, America's so-called team.
Yeah, that's why.
And the Cowboys, we're sitting there at 10-4 with a lot of incentive, or what, 10-3, a lot of incentive to go out there and win that ball game, trying to keep pace.
The Cowboys are limping home.
They're now falling on their face.
A couple of weeks ago, Dak Prescott was the MVP.
Exactly.
That's a funny thing.
No,
the way that's gone. All right, let's take a quick time out. We'll continue Old School with Tony Segreto. Lots of stuff to talk about here on the show. It's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. We'll come back with Tony and Old School in just a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:33.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. Old School with Tony Segreto here. Tony, you got me shaking a little bit with your prediction that the Dolphins are doomed. Very surprising coming from you.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Where did it rewound the
You had them going to the third round of the playoffs, but I'm thinking that would be the Super Bowl. I mean, I wouldn't mind that at all.
The Dolphins in the conference finals would be good.
Where did I say the Dolphins were doomed? Where?
Rewind this, Lubie. Can you go back? We have your exact quote. Dolphins are doomed.
Dolphins are doomed? I did not say that.
You didn't see them going all the way, though. What do you think they're missing? I mean, I'm looking at we were down on Vic Fangio. We were wondering what the hell was up with this guy. And thinking all of that talk before the season about how this was the biggest score that they made in the offseason, never mind some of the players that they brought in, Jalen Ramsey being one of them, who seems to be that huge difference maker that they were looking for.
He is something.
Save their ass.
Chubb, all of a sudden, after being, you thought this was one of the bigger stiffs that you brought on board. He'd been injured, and that's why he may have been available to him for what they, were able to. They grabbed him and then signed him to a big contract too. On top of that, so big investment in this guy. He wasn't doing much last year. All of a sudden, he's come to life. So defensively, I mean, I think they've improved.
Tremendously.
Considerably since the middle of the season, and
here's the
that's
thing.
had a good time. And I'm very impressed. I mean, the way they executed that last drive, I thought was a turning point.
What's not to be impressed? But you got to face reality here. Baltimore's good, real good.
Yeah.
San Francisco hit skids for 3 weeks, but they're good.
They
Dallas
didn't look good this week, though.
No,
They benched their quarterback. Benched him like he was Tommy DeVito.
go ahead, talk.
I'm listening, Tony.
No, you're not.
Go on.
I just couldn't concede you that they were automatically good after watching that direct this past weekend.
That's good. Who else?
Yeah. Who else?
I don't even know. All I can say is this. Week in and week out, you got to play. You got to play. You got to play. So they play Baltimore this week. This is the game.
Yeah.
This is the game that's going to define them, yes or no.
Yeah.
Well, it could get even bigger, actually, because let's suppose we don't want to think this, but they lose to Baltimore, 4-point underdogs, lose to Baltimore on the road, no disgrace. Buffalo wins. Buffalo this week, I think, is in a soft spot.
They play a stupid-ass team. I think the Carolina Panthers or some ridiculous team. It's annoying.
Then, what do we have, Tony, but a clash for the AFC Eastern Division title?
Yes.
Could it get any better than that?
It's annoying.
So what do you think? I mean, a lot of people are thinking they lose this week and beat Buffalo.
That's a hope.
Yeah.
At least. Oh, God.
I think you're right. I think they win the division.
All right.
I think they'll win the division. And then I think, it depends on who they play in the first round. But I think
I don't know who that would be. I mean, it's too hard to predict.
If they do that, I think they have the twos. I think if they beat the Bills, and now they'd get to 12-5, and I don't think anyone else in the conference can get to 12-5. So as long as they beat the Bills, I think they'd get the 2 seed at least. So they'd have home field until the conference finals. And that's the difference for this team is in the past where they're just limping into the playoffs. We're just happy to be there. If you're 12-5, the way this team plays at home, look, that's why I think they were able to do that is instead of being on the road in these big moments where they have been, they were at home. And Tua is a whole different quarterback at home. And that's fine. If they can get to home, at least you get to probably a conference finals against the Ravens at Baltimore, which is a lot. But I would be very, but for me, who was like 10 the last time they got to a conference championship, I would be very happy to see the Miami Dolphins and AFC championship in the same sentence.
Yes. I see them losing to Baltimore.
Yeah.
And then I see them winning a nail biter against Buffalo. Now, the gods have been good in their schedule. They went to Buffalo early, didn't they?
Yes, they come home for Buffalo.
They come home. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's better than I remember going to Buffalo this time of year. It's awful. It's just awful.
I would think any time of year. Awful.
It gets dark at 1 o'clock. I mean, here it gets dark at 4:30, but there it gets dark at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And
snowing.
They go and it's snowing. Well, weather. And then Thurman Thomas would still rush for 200, and Andre Reed would have 130, and James Lofton would have 160. Andre Reed. I was like,
Jim Kelly threw for 500 yards.
But there's reason for optimism. But I still say you got to walk with caution with this team. You don't know what you get. They play well at home. They don't play well on the road.
It's true.
I mean, it probably could be said about almost everybody in the National Football League this year. As we're seeing, I mean, while you have the good news is, Tony, we're among the teams that are
we're
at
in
the
it.
top. Yeah. Whereas, you're not sitting there in that mix at 8-7, 7-8.
Now it could be a different story if they beat Baltimore.
If they beat Baltimore,
it's a whole new ball game, my friend.
Super Bowl fucking game.
And we're talking Super Bowl, my friend.
Then I eat my words.
All right. So now what's going? I have to admit, I haven't followed any ball games. I mean, to speak of, flipping channels, you're gonna fall upon, some occasional football. My inclination is usually to stop and see, well, what is this? But outside of that, I really haven't been. Involved or thought about the results of any bowl games as being significant.
I start looking at the bowl games today.
Okay.
Because we got the last couple of days they've been so. Yeah. But today, for example, we have who do we have today? We have Virginia Tech Tulane.
Oh, that's actually nice, yeah.
North Carolina, West Virginia.
That's nice.
And Louisville, USC.
USC. Oh shit.
And Texas A&M, Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Oh, these are actually.
That's all today.
Yeah, actually decent starting today.
So today is when it starts, and then they start getting better and better and better. Tomorrow you got Southern Methodist and Boston College, Rutgers, Miami, NC State, Kansas State.
Oh, wow, Arizona and Oklahoma's tomorrow. Oh shit.
Arizona and Oklahoma. So you got some real good games coming up.
All right, and of course then we have the Big Four. Going after each other in the games on New Year's Day next Monday.
Yeah, New Year's Eve is not New Year's Eve. The FSU plays the day before New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
Friday the 30th, right?
30th.
We play Saturday
night. Okay, and I was talking to a guy, and he's a big Georgia fan. He's going to the game, and. You may not even go to this ball game, Tony Segreto. I mean, what has happened? Rodemaker, the backup for FSU, who would have been ready to play, he's not going to play.
I'm going to go.
Oh, okay. You're going. Okay. Okay. I was like, Jesus, Tony's opting out.
I was scared to death.
Like, golly.
What do you think, Lubie?
I don't know. It's funny. A lot of people are now trying to make this like the minute they didn't make the playoffs. To me, the season was over. Not positive or negative. Just in this era. Like, that's the thing. This isn't new. A lot of people are putting a spotlight on FSU because of this playoff thing. You talk about Christian McCaffrey. He started it in that year when Stanford was in a big bowl. McCaffrey, and it's funny, Butts for Michigan didn't. He was a first-round talent, played in the Orange Bowl, and like in the first quarter got hurt against Florida State. And have you ever heard the name Jake Butts again? Was never the same. He fell 2 rounds and has never been the same. McCaffrey that same year, it was 2016, tapped out. Everyone questioned him. And look at him. He's one of the rare running backs in his late 20s who's as good as he's ever been. Like, this has been going on for now like 7 years.
Jalen Ramsey I don't even know if he's still in the league now. But
Jalen Ramsey?
Ramsey, I mean, the Dolphins, Ramsey.
With the Dolphins.
Not Jalen Ramsey. The linebacker for Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah. Yes. He played.
First round pick.
Screwed him. Yep.
And got screwed. Yep.
So, guys, this is not new, but for some reason, because you combine the world of the transfer portal and the world of the opt-out, FSU has like 18 guys that are out, but Georgia has 23. Like, it's not, unless you're in the playoffs, to me, if you're a guy that has a shot to make it in the pros, why would you play? And it sucks. I feel bad, but like, why? You're risking so much. So to me, I'm excited for the game. The young guys are going to get a lot of play, and that's cool. I like seeing them out there. I don't know. I expect Georgia to win because their depth. They've been doing this recruiting thing for 6 years, and we're finally just getting into it.
They could probably play their recruits and win.
Their second and third string is better than most teams' second and third string. So I expect Georgia to win. Will it be what the spread is? No, I don't think it's going to be 17 to 20 points. I think that's a little asinine because most of our starters are playing on the defensive side of the ball. But, yeah, to analyze it.
What about next year? It all changes next year. It all changes. 12 teams.
Oh, with the playoffs? Yeah.
Oh, the playoffs. Yeah, it'll be a whole different animal. I mean,
that's what made it even more of a disgrace that they did what they did this year.
Yeah, that's what's annoying. They had a
you're going to have a solution to it next year, but unfortunately, I mean, I keep coming back to this. I was talking with a guy that was a Georgia alum, and he was heading for this Orange Bowl game. And, you're thinking, geez, I mean, they really have taken the air out of the balloon in this game. That could have been a dynamite contest, even considerably for the national championship could have been at one point in time.
This was 1-4 heading into the last week. This was 1-4.
I really do believe this, though, Tony. I'm a purist in this sense, like you are. I believe that if you could win under the circumstances that Florida State did, with a third string quarterback, that is even more of an artistic accomplishment than having some great quarterback in there. I mean, it defines what you're supposed to go out and accomplish, and that is win under any circumstances, whatever level of adversity. They did that, and that principle was kind of tossed to the wind by the committee.
Absolutely, without question, without question whatsoever. You know, it's funny to think. I was sitting there talking to my son about, all of the Ed. There's Ed.
We're talking football, and a nice haircut for the one and only Ed Garcia. I figured
it looks good, man.
Are you in Colorado, Ed?
I am. Good morning.
Oh, nice. Well, that's good for you.
What's happening? Ed Garcia, Texas Roadhouse Restaurant, joins us here on the show. And of course, he is headed for the Rose Bowl, which is a very meaningful game, as Michigan's going to be taking on the devil itself, and that is the Alabama Crimson Tide program. Now 1.5-point favorites right now over Alabama. That line has fluctuated a little bit, Ed Garcia. How are you, my friend? How was the whole Christmas at Texas Roadhouse?
Everything has been absolutely fantastic. Christmas was great. I got to spend time with the family, which is most important. But yeah, things are going really, really well. Hope you guys had a great Christmas as well.
Great Christmas. So Ed, tell us about, are you, I know you're with your family in Colorado, but I got to think there's this anticipation of you going to the Rose Bowl.
Yes, it hasn't really dawned on me yet a little bit. Been seeing a lot on Facebook and Instagram, the countdown to the Rose Bowl, but I am very, very excited. I think it's a two-part piece, heading to California and being a part of the Rose Bowl. I am super, super nervous, but I am confident about Michigan. It's just tough when you read everything in the media. Sometimes you feel like the world's against you, but that's what makes it a game. So, looking forward to it. I think it's going to be, just some really, really good athletics.
How do you think it's going to go?
I'll tell you, it's going to boil down to a breakout. I think you're just going to have a slugfest. Both defenses are great. The part we need to watch out for is, the scrambling from the Alabama quarterback. And I think if we can keep him in the cage, we will keep Alabama low. And I think Michigan is going to do the same. They're going to really just try to contain our run game. I don't see McCarthy throwing too much just because, when we're against these big teams, it's not a confidence piece. We just rely on what we're strong at, and that's running the ball. So I think it's going to boil down to a breakout play here or there. And, someone's going to slip up. Someone's going to miss a tackle or coverage, and there's going to be a 20, 30-yard run or a pass, and that's what's going to decide the game.
You're going to you think the players are going to be nervous?
Oh, 1,000%. I saw the plane there, and they've already checked out the field. But yeah, 100% they're going to be, super nervous. I mean, this is a really big deal. And for some of them, this is their last year. I mean, I don't know how many we have leaving Michigan, but it's their last college football game. We got, definitely somewhere about 28 seniors, maybe a little bit more, but and then obviously quite a few will be, going into the pros.
A lot of ego at stake here in this game. You always see those shots at coaches. This is right out of the Tony Segreto School of College Football, where the coaches get together before the game. They're on the field. And I always get a kick out of, wow, I mean, they're so cordial and, supportive of each other. And you get the feeling, there's a real brotherhood in the profession. Will we see Jim Harbaugh and Nick feigning like they're actually –
the conversation before the game.
Before the game. Are they going to be on the field, like, with their arm around each other going, yeah, isn't this great? Is there any level of sincerity that might go into that conversation between Harbaugh and Nick?
Well, I definitely feel there's a level of respect. I mean, both of them are great coaches and have a resume behind it. There is, no questioning each other's resumes. But knowing Jim, he's all about business. There'll be a nice firm handshake and, probably the words good luck. And I think I will max it out at that.
It's like going to a bar mitzvah. You run into your ex-wife, and you got to pose for the family picture, even though the hatred is still there.
In this case today, you got to think Nick Saban is the good guy.
That's so funny.
Wow, I don't know.
I guess without Harbaugh's
that's a hard one to fathom, Tony.
Yeah,
Nick Saban is the good guy.
You got to think of it that way.
Wow.
Yeah, he might be considered the good guy. It depends. I'll tell you, I feel like a lot of the drama has disappeared because people were trying to make an excuse of where did Michigan come from 2019 and 2020, which I know 2020 was a COVID year and a very not exciting year for most, but I think that they've proven themselves, just between Ohio State, Maryland, Penn State, all those big games, they've shown the world like, hey, we're a real football team. You can say what you can about Michigan, but at the end of the day, they can play ball. And so I think that's it, but, I think you look at every coach, there's a piece of history from Ryan Day, Nick Saban, I can go on and on that, there's been some type of foul play, but I wish, I don't think anyone out there is squeaky clean, but, hey, we're going to do what we got to do.
Yeah.
Possible to conceive of, Tony. Nick Saban, the good guy. He's the devil himself.
Yeah. Think about it.
After this season,
no. Is he accused of stashing players? No. Go on and on and on. I mean,
people are afraid to bring charges against Nick Saban. You know that.
Yeah.
He has immunity, bigger than Trump at this point. Yeah, nobody ever questions him. How swamped were you Christmas time there, Texas Roadhouse restaurants, and what's the what's the itinerary for the holidays coming up with New Year's Eve and everything?
Well, leading up to Christmas has been absolutely fantastic. I'm just wrapping up some numbers right now for the team. Christmas Eve night, especially down south in the Miami area, was a little bit soft, but totally expected. Oh, yeah. Very happy that the team got to spend. We were closed on Christmas, so but everyone came back running yesterday. Obviously we sold so many gift cards leading up to Christmas. So
everybody goes that day. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody. This week is a bit of a zoo. And I'll tell you, I have a lot of my restaurants are open for lunch this week because there's no school. There's, a lot of people are off work and they're running around and, they're either returning gifts or buying gifts that they forgot for Uncle Bob. Or Defo and things like that, so they're like, crap, what are we going to go get them? And they're like, hey, let's go grab, some Texas Roadhouse. So it's a very, very busy week for us this week. And then New Year's Eve is another one, you'll see Lubie lined up for that ice cold beer and margaritas.
For sure.
So, we, for some reason, and I'm not complaining at all, before the New Year's Eve party, we're a great spot to come on in and build that base and get a margarita before you go to your event. So it's a very, very busy night for us. But, we love to have you and wishing everybody also a safe and prosperous new year.
What's your lunch hours? And do you have a lunch menu or you just have the standard menu?
And how do you pivot so well?
Well, I think, at this time of the year, people don't mind a hearty lunch. We don't have, that's a great question. We don't have necessarily a lunch menu, but we do have great burgers, sandwiches, and salads that, that scream out a little bit like, hey, if you're looking for something on the light side, even our early dine menu, which, that's one of the things that most Texas Roadhouses do. So today, the hours, if they open, is typically noon for lunch, but in our early dine will run depending on, again, the location will go anywhere from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. So you can get some really, really awesome. It's about 10 to 12 meals that have. I mean, still a lot of food, but there'll be. It ranges depending on the city, but it could be $9.99 to $12.99. As far as the meals, so. Really, really, and some great options. I'll tell you, really good options.
$12. Imagine that, Tony. No, really. I mean, for a great lunch. You
do catering this
steak dinner. It's
that's dinner. Wow.
Yeah.
My heart be still. Unbelievable.
Ed, do you do a lot of catering?
Do you do a lot of catering? It does. It depends on the location. I'll tell you, the one in Miami right now has been helping out FIU and University of Miami quite a bit. So, and then, but we also, those are big caterings, you're talking 300 meals, but, we've done a lot for 8, 10, 20, and, we do a lot for the education, first responders, and really try to take care of them, those groups as well. But if you're having a small get together and things like that, and you need, some sides, or you want some dinners, or just, hey, you don't want to do nothing, just let us know. Contact your local Texas Roadhouse, and they'll put something together for you.
Imagine all those coaches shows that you did at Monty Trainer's, Bobby Rubino's, maybe some Flanagans mixed in if they had been at the Texas Roadhouse. How spectacular it would have been, Tony Segreto.
Yes.
Ed, thanks so much. Best of luck here. Happy New Year, and thanks so much for being with us on the show. Enjoy the game, my friend.
Enjoy the Rose Bowl, my friend.
Will do. Have a great New Year. Thanks, guys.
All right, sounds good. Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen. Real sports fan, man.
He's a special guy.
Sweetheart of a man. He really is.
He's a special man.
Lubie and I have seen this from doing the Mike Mayo Lunchbox show. The dedication of the people in the restaurant industry may be, they always talk about, well, these coaches, they sleep at the office. I think that's to stay away from their wives. These guys are dedicated, man. I mean, how much can you do that you really have to sleep at the office to be a football coach, right? How many plays are there, Tony, that you could possibly draw?
I always wondered about that.
Yeah.
Sleep at the office.
Yeah, like how much do you need
to playing ball your whole life? You know what's going on out there. It doesn't seem like it's different from week to week.
Jimmy Johnson never slept at his office. Jimmy Johnson literally, when he was done, he was done. So if he was done at 7 o'clock, he left at 7 o'clock.
Chopper down to the Keys. Yeah. Which would be the way to go. All right, Tony, what do you got going for New Year's Eve? You're going to be here for the Orange Bowl game.
Yeah. And then I'm going to come back here real quick and close up the shop and stay another week or two, and then
that's it.
Back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice. What happened, man? I thought you always stayed the whole winter up there.
So we'll be back. I'll be back toward the end of January.
Oh, cool.
Okay. All right. I'll have you out at the track again, man.
Oh, we have to get you back.
Your spot out there on the Mike Mayo Lunchbox show. Fantastic. They're still talking about your legendary appearance at the Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. No, really. I mean, when we come in, it's like, holy, I mean, could anybody talk about sausage any better than Tony Segreto? I think you've got a marketing deal working there at Delaware. All right, Tony, we love you, man. Happiest of New Year's.
Happy New Year.
Let's look for 2024 to be a big year for all of us, and we'll talk to you again next week, my friend.
Listen. Before you leave, I have to say this: you guys are special to me, and what you've done for me, and for dealing with me in the last 6 months has been it's been pretty special.
Everyone's dealing with anyone.
I think you're coming around, kid. I really do. Yeah.
We got
You're starting to fight back.
I don't think we're dealing with you, but I appreciate it.
No,
fantastic, Tony. Tony, you're a legend, man. I mean, you're unbelievable.
Keep kicking ass. Enjoy.
You're not like an old Larry Merchant, in those last few days on HBO, which I hear he's in bad shape right now. And I'm a big fan of Larry Merchant, but nonetheless, I mean, you've rebounded. I mean, magnificently. Fantastic. So, we love having you on the show. You know that, Tony Segreto. And Ed Garcia is a trip. I mean, who's better at adapting to this sort of thing? He was meant for show business.
He was meant for show business.
He was, yeah.
Amen.
He's got the best background of all of us, right? I mean, all of a sudden, he's got the Alamo looking like a Texas Roadhouse restaurant. It's fantastic, man. All right, Tony, we'll see you next year, my friend. Have a great 2023.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, thanks a lot. Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, my God.
That was old school. All right, Louie, we made it through one.
I just love that, Tony. We're talking him off the ledge now. How roles have reversed. Over that
I mean, why would he be down on the Dolphins?
He's been beaten to death by the Dolphins. That's the problem.
Here's what you have, though. That's good. I mean, and just to summarize that whole business, because look, they came through in a spot. And we were talking about defining moments. They came through in a spot where, I mean, all of the rhetoric, all of the narratives, as they now call it, all of the conversation was, hey, this is a team that can't come through in these kind of positions. And not only did they do it, but they did it with style. So I thought that was an excellent. That last drive, what was a thing of beauty, orchestrated by Mike McDaniel. I mean, he's there with his chart, and he's got the pants. What's with the pants around the calves, Louis? What is that all about?
Isn't that well? You're the tennis guy. Doesn't Rafa Nadal wear pants like that? Like
they used to be called clam diggers back in the day.
No,
when I was growing up in Brooklyn, nobody wore shorts. Even if it was 1,000 degrees, it was like a disgrace. You were considered to be, a little bit strange if you were wearing shorts. And then clam diggers came out, and it took a while to move me because I was stuck in the majority thinking, which was that this was a disgrace, and then everybody started wearing them, clam diggers, but they weren't tight around your calf. They kind of like bell bottomed out somewhere just below the knee.
I thought they were I don't know what they're called, but yes, you see a lot of the younger.
You don't see any other coach. You don't see Dan Campbell wearing those pants.
No. They said who was it? There was like you only McDaniel wears this outfit. Was it Al Michaels? I don't remember who was doing the game.
Straight off the campus of Yale University. My God, you're expecting him to whip out a frisbee and start throwing it. All right, we got to run. We'll see you on a variety of other platforms here today, including our No Filter show. And then on top of that, we have the Tony Bruno Sports Network. We make our return there.
And today we make our first adventure out to Sicilian Oven. So check out that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Mike Mayo's Lunchbox.
Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, Sicilian Oven. The eggplant stack.
Yes. Oh, how did the thing? So that's the thing she likes.
Oh, that's a great thing. The eggplant stack. Yeah. No, really well done there. All right, we'll see you next time as we leave in on that. We'll be back with you tomorrow. We will have a little pigskin playbook setting you up for the weekend with John Kajemi and get his thoughts on the Dolphin game and the upcoming game against the Ravens. And then that's it. We're off for a few more days, and then the grind begins in 2024, hopefully with some favorable results. So we'll see you next time as we leave in on that.
The time
9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.